Did you know that as women, we have a higher fear of failure than men? Studies after studies shows that. I'm not surprised about it, but at the same time, we're more averse to failure, which tends to hold women back in general from stepping into that business that we love, from creating momentum and stepping out in our business and taking it to the next level, from writing that book that ends up staying in our head, or that online course that never makes it past an idea, or getting that music we want to share out in the world, or our words out in the world. And it also it supports us in devaluing ourselves and not charging what we are worth. And I have to say, I have been, I have done that myself at various times. So here's how I've supported myself in moving away from that, and I hope these things help you too. I listen to a lot of business and marketing podcasts, especially online business and marketing when I'm working out. And I just wanted to share this as an example because it really struck me. Hopefully it will strike you too. So there was a podcast I was listening to not long ago, and it was somebody interviewing this fairly young sounding, I'm not sure, but he sounded like a young man. And he had gone to an online marketing workshop seminar, I guess a year or so before. And at that seminar, he learned this marketing technique. And after the seminar, he was telling other people about it, and they were interested in learning more, so they consulted with him. And before he knew it, he had a business teaching this particular technique, even though he'd never actually put it into action himself in his own business. And he had no trouble with that whatsoever. I, on the other hand, hopefully you can relate, I feel like I have to be like an expert on anything before I share it with my clients. I feel like not only do I have to master it, but I also feel like I have to then teach somebody else, and that they have to be able to master it too before I feel that I am qualified to share it. And so I think that's kind of like the difference a lot of times. I know it's a generalization, but between how we see ourselves and get our work out in the world. So I am here to support women. You don't have to feel you're going to nail it 100% to get your work out there. You just have to start. So I'm going to share with you today specifically the 5 ways that we tend to hold ourselves back and what you can do about it. So are you ready? Okay, so here's the first way. The first way is that we have a lack of belief in ourselves, self-doubt. We think that we somehow don't have what it takes to be successful in business. Now again, these are generalities, so they may not all apply to you, but I'll guarantee at least one of them does. And so here's the truth. I'll guarantee that there's women out there that have less skills than you, that are less talented than you, but they are more successful in doing the same thing that you want to be doing. Why is that? The biggest thing that holds us back is our own self-doubt and judgment. And so, here's something I want to share with you about that. One of the most powerful things I'll share with my clients to help them to really restore that sense of belief in themselves is to have what I call a victory journal. Now, what that means is every day you take 3 to 5 minutes. It can be a physical journal. I like to actually write on a journal, but it could also be digital. And all you're going to do is 3 victories that you had that day. You want to write them down. I'm fine if you just pick one. That's okay too. But I want you to write down, what was it that you overcame that day? It doesn't have to be this huge big thing. It could have been something simple like a call you were putting off, you did, or you made a commitment to yourself and you followed through with it, but you had a victory. And so I want you to write down every day at least one. Ideally 3 victories that you had that day, and start to keep track of them. And then when you go back and look, it really does help to restore your sense of self when you see how successful you actually are. Because there's this part of our brain that tends to focus on the negative. It's this negativity bias. It's kind of a throwback from the days when our ancestors were prey as well as predators, and they're always looking over their shoulders for every potential threat. And of course, the ones that survived are the ones that did pay attention to the threats. So there's this part of our brain that's constantly scanning for what's wrong, not just in our environment, but in our own self. And so helping you to overcome that, helping me to overcome that as well. So I'm a work in progress. has been writing down every day something that was a victory that I overcame, and it helps to reinforce that and build up those muscles of feeling successful and believing in yourself. So that's the first one. The second one is radical self-reliance, not asking for help when we need it. And again, these are all ones that I'm recovering from at various stages, but I am definitely the Lone Ranger, have been. It's something that I've been working on a lot, and I can tell you that once I started bringing other support into my team for my business, it has completely changed things for me, and other areas of my life as well. So the truth is that entrepreneurial success is definitely a team sport. You can't do it on your own. Now, you may start off that way because you're having to wear all the hats, but as quickly as possible, you want to delegate the things that are just not yours to do. So here's where I want to support us in helping each other. So here's your to-do for this one. I'd like for you in the comments below this to write down two things. One, what is something that you are naturally good at that you'd be willing to help other members, other Bravehearts with? And two, what is something you're struggling with that you would like help with? And it's important not just because you might get specific help for that thing, but the very act of saying, hey, I need help with this is really powerful. So two things. What is it that you're naturally really good at that you'd be willing to help other people with? And what is it that you're struggling with? And let's see if we can help each other. And if you see something that someone's reading that they're struggling with, it doesn't mean that you personally are able to help them, but you may have a resource. So feel free to let's share our resources. If we look at all the resources we have between us, there are so many ways we can help each other out. So put that in the comments below. What is it that you are really good at that you'd be willing to help with? And what are you struggling with? And let's see if we can help us, not just help us with the things we're struggling with, but help us to step outside of our radical self-reliance and thinking that we have to do it all by ourselves. So the third way that we as women entrepreneurs tend to hold ourselves back is lack of focus, lack of direction, or not being clear on our next steps, and so we stop. Here's the truth. As women entrepreneurs, we are pulled in lots of different directions. I mean, we're juggling our business life and our family life and our community and our friends. And so it really is even more important to stay focused. And sometimes, I'll be admit, sometimes I've used that as an excuse. Sometimes I've used this sense of a lack of direction to stop myself from moving forward. And so I recognize that in myself. And so maybe I'm sharing that with you because I've seen that in my clients too. Sometimes they say, gosh, I just really don't know what I'm supposed to do. And they know. But someplace in them is holding back. So ask yourself, do you really not know what your next steps are? So here's your to-do for this one. Step back. I want you to revisit what is a transformation that you offer your clients and who specifically are you here to serve? And then I want you to ask one very simple question. What is the very next step that you can take with the resources that you currently have that would help you to get that transformation into the hands of your ideal client? What is the very, very next step that you can take with the resources that you currently have that will help you to deliver your brilliance to your dream client and then just get in action? It doesn't have to be the most perfect action, it just has to be get in action. Because here's the thing, when you're in motion, it's much easier to course correct. It's really, really hard to get that sense of focus and clarity and direction when you're standing still. It kind of reminds me of the flight of a plane. Let's say you've got a plane that's taking off from New York and it's going to go to LA. First thing it needs to know is, where am I? I'm in New York. Where am I going? LA. Okay, so you got to know, where are you? Where do you want to go? But here's the next thing after that. Do you know that the majority of the time that plane is in flight from New York to LA is actually off track in terms of the dead straight line between point A and point B? But what's happening is it's constantly making course corrections, constantly. It's constantly correcting itself towards LA, and that's where it's going to get. Same is true of you. If you're in motion, it's just a simple act of making a course correction. And that's where the clarity and the direction will come from. So don't think that you have to have all of it and know all of it to get started. Just start with what you've got and then move. And sometimes there's this thing that I call the missing pieces department. I'm sorry, I've got a bit of an accent. Missing pieces department. What that means is sometimes the pieces are just not all in place yet. And you're waiting for clarity, but the pieces aren't in yet. You got to just get in motion. And once you get in motion, the pieces fall into place and then the clarity comes. So don't wait for that clarity before you get in action. Get in action, and out of that, the clarity will come. Okay, the fourth way that we as women entrepreneurs tend to hold ourselves back is by not seeing and trusting in our own brilliance, our own unique brilliance. So here's the truth. I want you to really hear this. You are magnificent beyond compare. There is nobody in this entire world exactly like you. The chances of you being born to the parents that you had, where you were born in the world, it's like one in, what is it, like a billion or hundreds of billions? I mean, you're just totally uniquely you. Your life story, your skills and talents and abilities, the challenges that you have overcome, the struggles you've overcome. There are people out there that need to hear your message. They need to have your course or your book or your music or hear you speak, or even just see you smile or feel your touch, feel your transformation. They need that, and they won't get it from anybody else because they're here to get it from you, and you are born to work with them. And yet we stop ourselves because we don't sometimes believe in our own unique brilliance. So quit it. So here's what I'd like you to do for this one. I want you to ask yourself, what are your superpowers? It's starting to really get clear on what these things are. And if you're not sure, I'm just going to give you a quick little clue, and I'm going to talk more about this as I go on in different lives. But for now, look at the things that people come to you for guidance about, for advice about. Because the challenge is it's really hard to see our own superpowers because they're things that we do so naturally well, we take for granted that we don't actually think they're superpowers. That's the challenge in all of this. So the task for this section, and not if we don't see or really believe in or give credence to our own superpowers, is just start noticing, what do people ask you about? What do they come to you for advice about? What do they seek you out for? Not just business-wise, but also in your personal life. And start to really get clearer on what those superpowers are and step into them more, because that is your uniqueness. And there's nobody else has those exactly the same combination as you. And the more you get yourself out there, the more the people looking for you will find you. And they need to do that because your work is powerful and it needs to be out there. Okay, enough said. So the fifth way that we hold ourselves back as women entrepreneurs is that we're trying to fit it all in, or we're trying to somehow get that elusive work-life balance. We're trying to balance our work and our life and make it all pretty. Here's the truth. You don't have work and a life, you only have a life. So rather than try to balance the two, integrate the two. And how do you do that? You build your business as much as you can around your sense of purpose, around your superpowers, around your values, and you integrate the two. So to do that, it means you have to stop and step back from it and ask yourself, what really is the most important thing for you? It's not about giving equal time to all the different areas of your life. It's about prioritizing the things that matter most to you. And then divvying out your time and energy to those accordingly. So the question then becomes, what do you need to say yes to integrate more of what matters most to you into your life? And what do you need to say no to so that more of your life force energy is going to the things that really matter most to you versus the things that we think we should be doing? A lot of times we've got a lot of shoulds in our life, but instead, what really matters to you? And how can you say yes to more of that and no to the things that stop you from fully engaging the things that are most important to you in your life? So don't try to balance your life out. Try to integrate more of who you are and your sense of purpose, your values, and things that matter most and your superpowers into your life. And prioritize those things that matter most. Okay, so a quick recap on the 5 ways that women entrepreneurs tend to hold ourselves back. And the first one is lack of belief in ourselves. The second one is radical self-reliance. The third one is a lack of focus and clear steps, and as a result, we do nothing. The fourth one is not seeing and trusting our unique brilliance, and the fifth one is trying to fill it all in and get this elusive work-life balance, which doesn't exist integrate the two instead, and you'll be happy as can be. Okay, so I hope I've given you lots of ways to overcome those things. Please post in the comments below if you have any thoughts about that, any other things that you feel hold you back as a woman entrepreneur that I didn't add that you'd like to add. Let's have a conversation about that. And please, you go out there and create a business that matters and a life that you love. And I look forward to having another chat really soon. Bye-bye.